behind the scenes, the Nerd Tea commentary for my interview with Stacey McEwan. Welcome to this episode of the Nerd Tea. My guest today is the amazing author Stacey McEwan. Stacey McEwan is the new adult romantasy author of the book series The Ledge. As of the time of the interview, which is August 20th of 2024, only 2 of the books are out, which is Ledge and Chasm. And then the third book, Valley, is about to come out September 10th, and by the time this interview comes out, it will have just been out. I'm planning on uploading this interview on September 15th, so 5 days after the book has come out. Now, technically, this is my... Technically, this is my 5th interview, but she will become my 3rd author, or my 3rd guest that I will present to you guys. And the reason for that is because her book does come out, and I've never had the chance to interview, or I haven't so far had the chance to interview someone whose book is either about to come out or has just come out. So I figured that I would push Stacey up a little bit in the calendar just because, I don't know, it's a little bit cool to have an interview with her surrounding the release of her book. So first, let's talk a little bit about the book and why I wanted to talk to Stacey, and then we'll get into everything that happened and how I felt about the interview, because that's what this commentary is. It's essentially, it's a way for me to bring you guys into what happens behind the scenes of this, because I try to make it seem very cohesive in the interview, but it's chaotic a little bit, although it is getting better. And also, it's kind of, for me as well, almost like a little journal of my journey, because as I've said in previous videos, this is something that I've been wanting to do for years, and I'm finally doing it, and there are growing pains, but they're very exciting for me, and I just want to be able to look back or see this stuff again and just sort of see where I started and how I felt when I first started to now. So I literally just finished the interview with Stacey, but first let me talk about her books a little bit. So The Ledge is essentially a book about this girl. Her name is Dawson, and she has grown up in the Ledge, and it is this horrible, icy little area on top of a massive mountain where it's impossible to get down from there because there's this whole chasm, and literally there's no way to climb down. You just go and you just sort of fall. And so she has grown up there. At this point in the story, the family that she had has all at some point passed, either because it's so cold and you just sort of die eventually, or because these beings called the Glacians that have massive wings and are just like really big and evil, every once in a while they come and do a selection of people, and they will sort of snatch people out and take them away, and nobody really knows what happens to them when they get snatched. So her family has died from one of the 2 ways, and she is there by herself. We sort of see how harsh her life is and what she has had to do to survive, and how she connects or doesn't really connect with other people. And she gets snatched up the ledge by the Glacians in the selection process, and then it's her adventure of what happens afterward and how she survives, and she meets a half Glacian, and she gets to learn for the first time what is off the ledge, because she was born there, so she literally has no idea what anyone else, if there's anyone else, but she has no idea what anyone else is doing. That is her journey of sort of becoming her own person and figuring out why her people are up in the ledge. That was a little fly that just flew by, and it's just like on here. And why her people are stuck in the ledge. There's also like a love aspect to this with the half Glacian and all that stuff. So that is the story, and it was so interesting to me. But I actually first heard of Stacey. I saw her in my social media because she is on Book Talk. She does this really funny series where she essentially tries to turn her husband into like a book boyfriend. So she'll be like, hey, I need you to tell me that you can't breathe without me, or like lean against the wall and do this and stuff like that. And you just kind of hear him in the background like, what are you talking about? So I thought that was so funny. I thought that was hilarious. It was very dry, sarcastic humor, and I really enjoyed it, and it was very bookish. That was the first time that I heard of her, and then she started advertising her book. First, I was already a fan of her and her humor, and then the premise sounded really interesting, so I was just really like, I became a fan already. So she was one of the people that I reached out to, not in my first batch, but kind of there, mostly because I was like, she doesn't follow me, I don't follow her. It was the first time that I didn't have access to the author beforehand. Every other author in my first batch, which were the other 4, were people that already followed me back. So it was easier for me to not only send them that request, but also just send them a DM and just be like, hey, can you check your email? Because I sort of want to do this thing with you if you would like to do it. But Stacey did not follow me on social media, and so I didn't have access to her. So I had to just go through the contact information, the email that she has for like queries and stuff like that, and just sort of cross my fingers and hope that she would answer. And she did. She answered. She was interested. She was down. It's really funny because she is in Australia and I am in the East Coast of the United States. Any other sort of time difference that I have had has been more of like the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast, but this was basically the difference of an entire day. For me, it started at 7:30 p.m. and for her it was I believe 9:30 a.m. So she was getting her day started. She hopped on after dropping off her kids from school while I was like, I had already had 2 coffees for the day, you know, like I had already had a full-on day and just like winding down, and this is basically the last thing I have to do for the day, versus she was just like waking up and I'm already like, so answer all of my questions. So that was her morning, which I think is really funny, but she was honestly so sweet. She is exactly how she presents herself on social media. She's very nice. She has a great sense of humor. She makes you, or at least she made me feel very like she wanted to be there, that she was enjoying the conversation, that she, I don't know, we matched. We're also very similar in age, and I don't know, I thought we kind of vibed. We actually, let me put these books down, but we actually bonded because in the pre-interview she was like, I have my tea ready, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have my tea ready as well, and we were like, saw that, and then I saw, she's like, I have my blanket, and she kind of did this, and I saw like the books essentially because she just did this, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. And then we realized that we have basically the same blanket, like probably from the exact same company, which is this one. Hold on. This is like my library blanket. My mom gave it to me. It's basically me with books. That's me. And she has one very similar, like her version, and then her mom also gave her the blanket, so we kind of bonded over that for before the interview started. I wish we would have been recording already because we were both like, wait, what the? And it was really funny. So from the beginning I already knew that she was gonna be a fun person to talk to and an easy person to talk to, and she was. Per usual, I went over way more than I wanted to. I kind of already knew that I was gonna go over, but I was hoping I would go over like 15 minutes. I went over by like 35. That was my bad. I was so enthralled with the conversation that I didn't notice my first section had gone over, and by the time I noticed, it was late already. It had almost already been an hour. I am no longer beating myself up for it going over an hour. However, with that being said, I do not want it to go over that long, unless either I don't want it to go over that long and I really have to get better at making it at most an hour and 15, or I have to just start sending the invite instead of for an hour and a half, sending it for like 2 hours. And I send it for an hour and a half because we chat a little bit before and we chat a little bit afterwards. So that's something that I have to keep in mind. And also because I am brand new, you know, I want people to listen to the conversation. I think the past couple of days, it just so happens that it has become very clear to me that I really need to put these up in podcast format. I think that is where they will thrive a little bit more, because most people, for example, on YouTube don't have the unlimited premium, whatever the heck it's called, version. So an hour plus long interview is very hard for them to get through, even if they're interested, because they have to be stuck. Even if they put it at 2x speed, they're still stuck for like 30-40 minutes without being able to go anywhere else so that they can listen to it. I think it's having a hard time sort of kicking off, and again, especially because I am brand new. Maybe if I was a little bit more established, it wouldn't be. But I'm thinking more and more I need to really also put these in podcast format, because that is going to be easier for people to listen while they do other stuff, and it won't be as much of an issue. I'm sweating. I just realized, because I shut myself in this room, which already can be really hot in the summer, but also I turned off the air because my air conditioning is really extremely loud, like abnormally loud, and if it would have turned on in the middle, it would have, and I have now. I just realized that not only the closed-in room, the heat, and then this light, I am sweating, and I was also drinking tea. Yeah, not good, not good. As you guys might know, normally I like to dress up a little bit for my interviews, kind of in the theme of the book or the books of whoever I am interviewing, because her whole thing was like ice or whatever. I kind of wanted everything to be like white and blue and icy. So I'm going to show off what I did. So I first had this top, and technically they're probably kind of flowers, but they kind of also could look like snowflakes, or I felt. So that's why I put this top on. And then I had this sort of silvery headband because, again, I silver type thing. That was a bug. I finally got to fly. Yes! Anyway, what was I saying? I got like just earrings. It could be like little snow falling or little kind of icicles. I have my rings, anything that was kind of, again, very like icy and just more metallic and stuff like that. And then I also did, because I had time, I was about to like shut my eye like that, but because I had time, this interview wasn't in the morning for me, which they kind of usually are. So I actually got dressed for the day, and then I had the time to put on the makeup and stuff like that, which was great. I put kind of like a metallic sort of shimmery, a little bit icy blue eyeshadow. I put a blue eyeliner. I felt really cute. I had lip gloss or lip stain on when I first started, but that has since faded away. We talked about how I actually have two versions of her books, which bothers me a little bit. So this is this version, which is a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And then I believe she said it was Litjoy, and I believe I got it from Litjoy because I get stuff from them all the time. They have this version of Chasm, which is the second one, that is beautifully edged. And I was telling her, I was like, so she was like, I'm gonna send you a normal one of Chasm so you at least have that. And I was like, thank you. These covers, I mean, honestly, they're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. I think that I fell in love with the covers first, probably. But yeah, so that's kind of how it went. I think it was probably the least hectic out of the interviews, in the sense of like, you know, the first one I was just freaking out because I was very nervous. The second one, was it early? Was that what it was? I think it was, yeah, it was like early. Another one I had like a little bit tech issues, but mostly it's just been like I've been a little bit, you know, nervous because I'm still getting used to this, but I was a little bit more relaxed. This interview was actually supposed to happen another day, but things came up and so we had to reschedule it. And so I was really prepped way in advance because I had prepped for that first day originally. So I'm excited. I'm excited for you to guys see this one. That was it. I hope that you enjoyed this behind the scenes commentary. I hope that you have fun learning a little bit about what happened outside of just the interview that you see. See you in the next page.